Welcome, dear dreamer, to Whispers of the Night, where gentle stories guide you into restful sleep. Tonight, I'll be sharing a dreamy tale called The Star That Forgot Its Name, a story of wonder, light, and gentle discovery beneath the night sky. Before we begin, I invite you to settle in and make yourself comfortable. Find a position that feels just right, whether lying down or reclining back, and allow your body to begin releasing the weight of the day. This is your time, a quiet space for rest.com and renewal. If you're enjoying these nightly journeys, I would love for you to follow Whispers of the Night. By subscribing, you'll always have a place to return when you need peace, comfort, or simply a story to carry you into dreams. So now, let your breath slow, let your shoulders soften, and with the gentle rhythm of your heartbeat, allow yourself to be carried toward the calm horizon of sleep. In a moment, we'll begin tonight's story, The Star That Forgot Its Name. Before we begin tonight's story, take a moment to get comfortable. Rest your body in a way that feels natural, perhaps lying down beneath your blanket or leaning back into soft pillows that cradle your head. Gently close your eyes and let this be your time to unwind, your time to let go. Take in a slow, deep breath. Hold it softly for a moment, and then release it as though you are sighing out the weight of the day. With each breath, you are inviting in calmness and letting go of everything that no longer needs your attention. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Feel the way the air moves gently in and out of your lungs. There is nothing to do, nowhere to be. Just this quiet moment of stillness. Now, imagine that, above you, the night sky stretches endlessly, deep indigo and velvet blue, with countless stars twinkling softly. As you breathe, notice one star, brighter than the rest, shimmering just for you. Each time you inhale, its light grows warmer, filling you with comfort. Each time you exhale, that light washes gently over you, carrying away the day's worries. Picture that starlight as a gentle river of silver, flowing down over your shoulders, down your arms, and resting softly in your hands. Feel it drift down your spine, releasing every knot, every trace of tension. Your muscles soften, your body loosens, your breath remains steady and calm. Now, let your thoughts begin to float like tiny clouds in the night sky. You don't need to chase them or hold them, just watch them drift slowly away, as though carried by the gentlest of winds. With each passing moment, your mind becomes clearer, lighter, more peaceful. Don't notice the way your body feels supported, whether by the mattress beneath you or the cushions around you. There is safety here and quiet. Allow yourself to sink a little deeper, as though the earth is softly holding you in its embrace. Imagine you are lying in a meadow beneath the stars. Tall grass sways around you, silvered by moonlight. Fireflies glow faintly in the distance, moving with the rhythm of your breath. The night is calm, The air is cool, and the world feels hushed and magical. Every sound fades. Every breath carries you deeper into stillness. You are not in a rush. You are not required to think. You are simply here, resting, dreaming, ready to be carried into story. Now, take one more slow, deep breath in and gently let it go. Feel the last bit of tension leave your body. You are calm. You are safe. You are ready. And so, with your mind open and your body at ease, let us begin tonight's story. The star that forgot its name. The falling light. Orlina had always felt that the night sky held secrets meant only for those who truly listened. That evening, the air was unusually still, carrying the scent of damp earth. The village lay quiet beneath a blanket of silver moonlight, the cottages softly glowing in the dark. Orlina walked slowly along the grassy path that led just beyond the edge of the forest, her bare feet brushing against dewy grass. She was drawn by an unexplainable restlessness, a feeling that tonight might be different from all the other nights when she had watched the stars twinkle safely above from her window. The first hint that something extraordinary had happened was a sudden glimmer, soft streak of light that shot across the sky, leaving a trail that shimmered like scattered diamonds. Orlina's heart leaped into her throat. She knew the sky well. She had spent countless nights memorizing the constellations, tracing their patterns with her finger as if she could draw invisible maps across the heavens. But this light did not follow any familiar pattern. It darted quickly, then seemed to hesitate, almost as though it had lost its way. She froze, eyes wide, as the tiny star descended softly and silently into the field just beyond the forest's edge. It landed with no sound at all, leaving only a faint, glowing imprint on the grass, like a breath of pale silver. Orlina approached cautiously, her curiosity stronger than any caution. The light pulsed faintly, casting gentle reflections on her wide eyes, and she noticed that the glow was uneven, flickering as though uncertain of itself. Orlina knelt beside it. The star was smaller than she had imagined, barely the size of her hand, yet it radiated warmth. She instinctively reached out, and as her fingers hovered above it, the glow brightened, as if responding to her presence. A soft wind brushed her cheeks, though the night was otherwise still. She held her breath, waiting, hoping, and perhaps already believing that this fragile being had something important to share. But the star did not speak. It was unusual, because Orlina had often read stories about magical beings and mysterious creatures that could talk or grant wishes. Yet this one was quiet, almost shy, as though it had forgotten how to communicate. And then a thought struck her. Maybe it had forgotten its own name. She could sense it somehow, deep within her bones, as if the universe had whispered the truth just to her. The idea made her chest tighten with a mixture of wonder and gentle sadness. A star that did not know its own name, how lonely that must feel. "Don't be afraid," Orlina whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "I will help you." She felt an urge to cradle it gently, to keep it safe, but she hesitated, afraid of harming the fragile creature. Instead, she rested her hands just above it, letting the warmth of her palms brush against the soft, pulsing light. The star seemed to relax in response, its glow steadying. Orlina could feel a faint vibration, almost like a heartbeat, soft but real. Time seemed to stretch, the night folding around them in layers of quiet magic. Fireflies began to gather, drawn by the unusual light, their tiny bodies flickering like echoes of the fallen star. Orlina's imagination ran wild. Could this be a star that had fallen from the highest heavens, sent to Earth for some secret mission? Or had it simply lost its way, wandering through the endless sky until it could go no further? The questions tumbled through her mind, but she knew there were no immediate answers. She looked around the field, seeking something that might give her a clue. The grass shimmered faintly under the moonlight, and the trees at the forest's edge stood tall, their leaves whispering in the gentle night breeze. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called, its sound echoing softly across the quiet land. Orlina felt as though she had entered a place suspended between two worlds, the world she knew and the world the star had fallen from. Finally, she spoke again, her words a soft prayer rather than a command. "I will help you remember who you are. We'll find your name together." The star's glow brightened slightly at this, as if it understood the promise she had made. Orlina smiled, feeling a strange but comforting connection. It was as though the little star could sense her determination, her genuine desire to care for it, and in return, it had begun to trust her. The girl realized that if she wanted to truly help the star, she would need to bring it somewhere safe, a place where it could rest and regain its strength. She thought of the little cottage she had recently discovered at the far edge of the forest. It was abandoned but cozy, with wooden walls that had weathered many seasons, and a small fireplace that still held the scent of smoke from long ago. Orlina could imagine the star resting there, shielded from the chill of the night and the curiosity of others who might stumble upon it. Gently, she cupped her hands around the star and felt the warmth deepen, like the faintest heartbeat radiating against her palms. She began walking toward the forest, careful not to jostle it too much. Every step was deliberate, measured. The path was uneven, and the shadows of the trees stretched long and dark. But Orlina felt safe in the star's presence. Somehow, it gave her courage, a quiet reassurance that she had never needed before. As she moved through the forest, she noticed the soft rustle of nocturnal creatures, a rabbit darting silently into the underbrush, the distant croak of frogs near a hidden pond, and the gentle sweep of wind through the tree branches. Each sound seemed amplified by the silence around her, yet none startled her. The star's gentle glow lit her way, and in that light, everything appeared more magical, more fragile, more precious. She finally reached the cottage, brushing aside the hanging vines that had grown around the doorway. Inside, dust motes floated lazily in the silver moonlight filtering through the broken windows. Orlina set the star down on a small wooden table in the center of the room, and it settled there with a soft hum, its glow pulsing rhythmically as if breathing alongside her. She sat on the worn floorboards, watching it, feeling the quiet swell of responsibility and care. The night stretched on, and Orlina found herself speaking to the star as though it were an old friend. She told it about her village, about the fields of wildflowers that painted the hills in spring, about the river that whispered to her whenever she wandered too far. She described the constellations, reciting their names and the stories behind them, hoping that perhaps, in the rhythm of her voice, the star might remember something, anything, of who it had once been. Hours passed, though time seemed meaningless in the quiet glow of the cottage. Orlina felt a calm that she had never known before, a connection to something larger than herself, to a part of the universe that was both fragile and infinite. The star pulsed gently, almost imperceptibly, like a signal that it was listening, understanding, and maybe even beginning to remember. By the time dawn began to tinge the sky with pale pink and lavender, Orlina was leaning against the table, half asleep, but unwilling to leave the star's side. The first light of morning touched the edges of the room, and she noticed that the star's glow seemed stronger, steadier, as though the night had replenished it in ways she could not fully understand. She smiled, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face, and whispered softly, "We'll find your name, little one, I promise. We'll find it together." For the first time since it had fallen, the star seemed content. It no longer flickered nervously, but shimmered with a gentle, steady light. Orlina knew that the journey was only beginning. Somewhere beyond the forest, beyond the hills, there would be answers waiting. She did not yet know what they would be or how long it would take, but she had made a promise and she would keep it. And in that quiet cottage, with the first rays of morning spilling through broken windows, a curious young girl and a star that had forgotten its name sat together, bound by trust, hope, and a shared sense of wonder. They were companions on the threshold of discovery, each learning from the other in ways that words could never fully express. Orlina felt a warmth bloom in her chest, a recognition that some magic could only exist when hearts were open, when promises were sincere, and when silence was allowed to carry meaning beyond what any voice could convey. Outside, the village began to stir, unaware of the small miracle unfolding in the forest's edge. Birds called to one another from the trees. Dew glistened like tiny stars fallen onto the grass, and the wind carried the soft scent of blossoms into the waking world. Orlina watched all of it with the star by her side, feeling that everything had shifted slightly, just enough to make room for something extraordinary. She did not know how the star had come to her, or why it had chosen this night to fall, but she understood one thing clearly. It had found a friend, a protector, and someone who would never give up on it. And that, she realized, might be the most important thing of all for a star, for a girl, and perhaps for anyone who has ever felt lost and unseen. And so, the first chapter of their story ended not with answers, but with a beginning, a quiet, tender, and shimmering promise of adventures yet to come, and a friendship that would shine brighter than any star in the sky. Whispers of the night. The night had settled like a soft velvet blanket over the village, and Orlina felt a quiet excitement as she carefully lifted the tiny, shimmering star from its resting place on the cottage table. Its glow pulsed gently in her hands, like a heartbeat echoing her own. She had been thinking all day about a place where it might feel safe, somewhere it could rest without fear or distraction. And in her mind, only one place seemed perfect: the secret garden she had discovered months ago, hidden behind an old ivy-covered stone wall at the edge of the forest. The path to the garden was familiar to Orlina, but tonight it felt different. The moon hung low and luminous in the sky, spilling silver light across the forest floor, making every leaf and branch glimmer as though sprinkled with dust from the stars themselves. Orlina's bare feet barely made a sound against the soft earth, and every rustle of leaves seemed amplified in the hushed stillness. The star's light reflected faintly in her green eyes, and for a moment she felt as though she were carrying a fragment of the sky in her hands. When she reached the garden, she paused at the old wooden gate, brushing her fingers across its weathered surface. The moonlight spilled over the stone walls, illuminating delicate vines and flowers that had grown wild and free. Silver leaves glimmered faintly, and the petals of moonflowers unfurled slowly, releasing their sweet, faint fragrance into the night air. This was a place of quiet magic, untouched by the outside world. And Orlina knew instinctively that it was where the star would feel most at home, gently. She placed the star on a flat stone at the center of the garden, and it shimmered brighter, as though acknowledging that it had arrived somewhere familiar, somewhere safe. Orlina sat on the ground beside it, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, and let herself breathe in the stillness around her. She realized that the garden was alive with whispers of the night, the soft rustle of leaves, the gentle hum of insects, the faint call of an owl in the distance. Each sound seemed to carry a message, a rhythm that she felt more than she heard. She spoke softly, unsure if the star could understand words. "I know you've forgotten your name," she murmured, "but maybe names aren't the only way to remember who we are." She tilted her head, listening to the faint rustling of leaves in response. The star pulsed in gentle agreement, its light ebbing and flowing like a soft tide. Orlina's heart lifted. Perhaps it could sense her sincerity, her quiet determination to help it without forcing it. Hours passed, and the garden seemed to hold its breath. Orlina tried many ways to communicate, not with words alone, but with gestures, whispers, and even silence. She hummed soft melodies she had learned from her grandmother, letting the notes float on the night air. The stars' glow flickered in response, tiny sparks leaping from it like fireflies dancing in the dark. She laughed quietly, delighted by the first signs of connection. "I think you remember feelings," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not words, not names, but the things that matter in the heart." The star shimmered steadily now, almost warmly, as though it understood her in ways that language could never capture. Orlina closed her eyes and held her hands just above it, feeling the faint vibrations like echoes of joy and fear, loneliness and wonder radiating outward. She realized that this little star had been lost not in space, but in memory and emotion, and that the path to healing it would be gentle, patient, and filled with quiet understanding. The moon climbed higher, and its silver light draped itself across the garden, painting everything in hues of blue and white. Orlina leaned back on the soft moss, feeling the night settle around her like a comforting cloak. She noticed how the stars' glow softened even further, blending with the moonlight, and she imagined it listening to the whispers of the wind. The breeze carried hints of distant places, the sound of a river far away, the faint scent of flowers that grew on cliffs high above the clouds, the soft rustle of leaves from forests that stretched beyond her imagination. Orlina realized that the star responded not to words alone, but to the feelings she carried, to the quiet intentions behind her gestures, and to the rhythm of her own heart. She reached out, gently touching a leaf near the star, and it shimmered as though curious. She hummed again, a slow, flowing tune, and the star pulsed in time with her melody, casting gentle reflections on the surrounding flowers. Each flicker of light felt like a heartbeat, a pulse that mirrored her own, and Orlina felt a wave of wonder ripple through her chest. She began to tell it stories, not of her own life, but of things the star might have once known. She spoke of the constellations in the sky, of the ways the planets moved, of the quiet rhythms of nature that often went unnoticed. She told it of the river that sang softly beneath the village bridge, of the wind that carried scents and sounds across the hills, of the stars that watched over every sleeping creature. As she spoke, the stars' glow pulsed in delicate waves, softening and brightening as if trying to respond in kind. Orlina began to understand that it remembered not the names of things, but the essence, the feeling of sky and wind, of warmth and motion, of gentle light dancing across darkness. The garden seemed to respond to them both. Tiny blossoms opened under the moonlight, petals trembling as though eager to witness the fragile bond forming between the girl and the star. Even the insects moved with a slow grace, humming faintly in tune with the melody Orlina carried in her heart. The night was no longer silent, but alive in subtle ways. each sound and flicker of light contributing to a story that only she and the star could understand. Orlina felt a surge of compassion and tenderness as she looked at the star. She realized that perhaps names were only the beginning, that connection was far deeper than a word, and that trust could grow in silence, in care, and in shared wonder. She reached out once more, letting her fingers hover just above the glowing surface. The star pulsed softly, almost like a sigh of relief, and she smiled. "We'll remember together," she whispered. "One moment at a time, we'll find your name, your story, your place." Night after night, she returned to the garden, bringing with her small comforts, a cup of warm milk for herself, a piece of soft cloth to place beneath the star, gentle songs that floated through the still air. Slowly, she learned its rhythms, when it brightened with curiosity, when it dimmed with caution, when it shimmered in delight at a gentle touch. And slowly, too, she began to understand her own heart, how much joy and wonder could exist in simply being present, in offering care without expectation, in listening with patience. One night, as the moon hung high and silver in the sky, Orlina leaned against the stone wall, watching the star pulse in gentle waves. It seemed to shimmer brighter than ever before, sending tiny sparks into the air that drifted like motes of light across the garden. She felt a quiet sense of awe, realizing that even a creature that had forgotten its name could still radiate beauty, hope, and warmth. And she understood, with a profound certainty, that she was part of its story now, and it part of hers. The whispers of the night carried on, weaving through the garden like a secret song. Orlina listened closely, letting herself be swept into the rhythm of the wind, the shimmer of the leaves, and the gentle pulse of the star. She discovered that communication need not rely on words alone. A touch, a glance, a shared silence could speak more than 1,000 spoken sentences. And in that shared silence, in that quiet understanding, a bond formed that neither time nor distance could break. As dawn began to tinge the sky with pale rose and gold, Orlina remained in the garden, watching the star settle into a steady, gentle glow. It no longer seemed nervous or uncertain. Instead, it pulsed with a quiet contentment, a reassurance that it had found a safe haven and a friend in her. She brushed a strand of hair from her face, feeling the lingering warmth of connection, and whispered softly, "We'll find your name, little one, I promise." The garden itself seemed to hold its breath, as if acknowledging the solemn vow. Tiny petals glimmered faintly in the morning light, dew sparkling like scattered fragments of the sky. Orlina smiled, feeling a deep, unspoken joy in the simple act of being together, in the quiet miracle of trust and friendship. She knew that the path ahead would hold mysteries, perhaps challenges, but for now, the night had given them both something extraordinary, a shared sense of wonder, a gentle understanding, and the beginnings of a story that would unfold, one heartbeat, one whisper, one shimmering moment at a time. And so, in the secret garden under the watchful eyes of the moon and the first hints of morning, Orlina and the star rested side by side, The world beyond the stone walls could wait, for in that quiet sanctuary, they had discovered the profound magic of simply being present, of listening without judgment, and of connecting through the unspoken language of heart. Their journey had only just begun, but already it was filled with quiet wonder, gentle whispers, and the promise of a friendship that would shine brighter than any star in the night sky. The map of forgotten names. The morning sun had just begun to brush its golden fingers across the village rooftops when Orlina set out from her secret garden, the tiny star cradled carefully in her palms. Its glow had dimmed slightly with the approach of dawn, but it pulsed faintly, as if aware that a new adventure awaited. Orlina's heart fluttered with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She had been thinking all night about where to start their search, and one thought had grown clearer than all the rest. The village elder, the elder's cottage, sat at the far end of the village, nestled beneath a cluster of ancient oak trees whose roots twisted deep into the earth. Orlina approached the small wooden door, which creaked softly as she pushed it open. Inside, the air smelled of parchment, dried herbs, and faint traces of smoke from a fire that had burned long before dawn. Shelves lined the walls, filled with jars, scrolls, and curious trinkets that seemed to hum faintly with quiet magic. Orlina's footsteps were soft as she crossed the worn floorboards, her gaze fixed on the elder who sat in a high-backed chair, her long silver hair falling over her shoulders like a waterfall of moonlight. The elder's eyes, sharp yet kind, regarded Orlina with knowing interest. "You have come for guidance," the elder said gently, her voice carrying the warmth of familiarity and the weight of wisdom. "I sensed the little one with you. It is not common for a star to fall from the heavens and choose a child as its companion." Orlina nodded, her fingers tightening slightly around the star. "It has forgotten its name," she said. "To don't know how to help it remember. I thought maybe you could." The elder's eyes softened further. "Names are powerful," she said, rising slowly and moving to a low, carved table. "Especially the names of stars. Each one has a place in the sky, a story and a memory. But some names are lost, forgotten, or hidden. For these, only a heart that listens with care can uncover them." She opened a drawer beneath the table and retrieved a small leather-bound scroll. Unfurling it, she revealed a map that shimmered faintly, the lines of constellations glowing with soft light that seemed to dance in the dim morning. Orlina gasped. The stars on the map were not only marked with symbols, but with names written in flowing, delicate script. Some names were clear and shining, while others were faint or entirely absent. The map itself seemed alive, the glowing trails shifting slowly as if breathing. "This is the map of forgotten names," the elder explained. "It records every star in the sky, and the names they once carried. But as the centuries pass, some names are lost, and the stars grow restless until they are remembered. Perhaps your little friend is one of these. Orlina traced a finger lightly over the glowing lines, feeling a strange warmth as she followed the constellations. The star pulsed brighter at her touch, as if responding to the map itself. Her heart quickened. How do I find the lost name?" she asked. The elder smiled, her gaze soft but knowing. "Follow the trails of light. They will guide you where words cannot. Listen to the wind, the river, the whispers of trees. Each carries memory, and memory will reveal the path. But you must hurry the stars, wait for the night to end, and dawn approaches. Their chance to reclaim their names is brief, and your friend must remember before the sun rises fully." Orlina nodded, determination sparking in her chest. She thanked the elder softly and tucked the glowing map carefully under her arm. Outside, the village was waking slowly. The morning light touched the rooftops and cobblestones, but Orlina barely noticed. She followed the shimmering lines of the map, feeling a pull toward the enchanted forests and rivers that stretched beyond the hills. The star in her hands pulsed in quiet rhythm with her heartbeat, a reminder that they were companions, bound by trust and purpose. As she entered the forest, the air shifted, cool and fragrant with pine and earth. Shafts of morning light broke through the canopy, illuminating patches of moss and the delicate webs of Duladen spiders. Orlina paused, unfurling the map to examine it. The glowing lines twisted and curved, some leading to dense thickets, others crossing sparkling streams, and a few tracing the surface of misted glades where flowers shimmered faintly under the sun's first rays. The stars' glow brightened as they moved deeper into the forest, pulsing gently in excitement or perhaps recognition. Orlina realized that it could sense the path, even if it did not remember its own name. She whispered softly as she walked, encouraging it, telling it that they would find the answer together. And as she did, the air itself seemed to hum with quiet energy, a subtle melody woven into the rustling leaves and the gurgle of the nearby brook. Hours passed as they traced the glowing trails of the map. Each step seemed guided by intuition as much as the faint light of the star, and Orlina felt as if she were walking not through the forest alone, but through a place suspended between worlds, the known and the unknown, reality and memory, past and present. The star pulsed in rhythm with the map, tiny sparks leaping into the air as if testing the magic that surrounded them. Eventually, the trail led them to a small river, its waters gleaming with a silvery sheen as if reflecting the moonlight from the previous night. The star hovered above the surface, casting delicate patterns onto the rippling water. Orlina noticed faint markings along the river-banked tiny stones, arranged in careful, intricate patterns that she realized were part of the map's path. Kneeling, she traced the glowing lines with her fingers, feeling the cool touch of water and stone beneath her. The star pulsed faster, almost urgently, as though it recognized something important. Following the glowing lines, Orlina and the star moved along the river, through meadows where wildflowers leaned as if bowing in greeting, past ancient oaks whose trunks were scarred with time and memory. Each step brought them closer to understanding, and Orlina began to sense that the star's memory might be tied not to a single name, but to the feelings and experiences of being among the sky and earth, the rivers and forests, the night and the quiet moments in between. The map led them to a glade where the moonlight tore, perhaps the lingering glow of dawn-creed, a shimmering carpet of silver grass. Orlina placed the star gently on a flat stone at the center of the glade. The star's light pulsed steadily now, brighter and warmer than ever. She could sense that they had arrived at a place of significance, a point where the trail of forgotten names converged. Orlina closed her eyes, listening to the gentle hum of the wind, the soft ripple of water, the whisper of leaves brushing against one another. She felt the rhythm of the earth beneath her feet and the pulse of the star beneath her hands. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a flicker of recognition passed through the star's glow, a subtle, quivering brilliance that spoke of memory stirring deep within. "It's okay," she whispered, her voice carrying through the glade like a lullaby. "You don't need to know the name yet. Just feel and remember the feelings. The rest will follow." The star pulsed in agreement, a tiny surge of light that leaped into the air like a spark ready to ignite. Orlina spent long moments sitting quietly with the star, letting it soak in the energy of the glade, the patterns of the map, and the rhythm of her own heartbeat. Slowly, she began to hum a gentle melody she had learned in the garden, a song of wind, water, and starlight. The star pulsed in time with her song, each flicker of light a note in a wordless harmony. She realized then that the path to remembering was not through words, not through maps alone, but through connection, patience, and the shared rhythm of heart and light. Orlina felt a subtle shift. The star's glow steadied, bright and unwavering, and she sensed that something inside it had stirred, perhaps a memory, perhaps a recognition, perhaps the tiniest spark of its own forgotten identity. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We're getting closer," she whispered. "Soon you will remember." And so, guided by the glowing map, the whispers of the forest, and the quiet rhythm of their bond, Orlina and the little star continued their quest. Each glowing trail, each shimmering river, each whisper of wind was a clue, a step toward a name that had been lost but not forgotten. With patience, courage, and the magic of the night carried in their hearts, they moved together through enchanted forests and over silvered rivers, toward the promise of discovery and the light of understanding that awaited before the dawn in that quiet, shimmering world between night and morning. Orlina realized something profound. Sometimes, the journey to remember is more important than the answer itself. And sometimes, the bond formed along the way, the trust, the care, the shared wonders, what truly makes the magic last. Girl and star moved forward, following the trails of forgotten names, trusting that the path no matter how winding or mysterious, would lead them to what they sought, the lost name of a star and the dawn of its remembered light. The Mirror Lake. The forest grew quieter as Orlina and the little star pressed onward, the soft glow of their path flickering between the trees. Even the birds seemed hushed, as if they knew they were about to step into a place unlike any other. The air grew cooler, tinged with the delicate scent of wildflowers and damp earth, and a thin mist began to curl around the roots of the ancient trees. Orlina's heart thumped in quiet anticipation, for she had heard whispers of a place called the Mirror Laken Enchanted Water Body, said to hold more than mere reflections. As they emerged into a clearing, the lake revealed itself in its full glory. Its surface was perfectly still, gleaming silver under the moonlight that filtered softly through the canopy above. The water was so clear and calm that it looked less like a lake and more like a polished sheet of glass laid carefully upon the earth. But it was more than mere water. It was alive, shimmering faintly, breathing with the memory of every creature, every cloud, and every whisper that had ever lingered nearby. Orlina approached cautiously, feeling the strange pull of the lake, a tug at her soul that whispered of forgotten things. The little star hovered beside her, its glow now uneven and hesitant, as if it too felt the lake's strange power. This is beautiful," Orlina whispered. "But why does it feel like it's looking back at us?" The star flickered softly in reply, a trembling light that seemed almost shy. Orlina knelt beside the water, dipping a finger in. The surface rippled at her touch, and in that moment the lake began to change. Faces, fleeting and shadowy, danced across the mirror like water, some smiling, some curious, some filled with wonder. Orlina gasped. "It's showing memories," she said, awestruck. Not mine either, I think." "Its sires," the star wavered, flickering brighter for a brief second before dimming again. It was as if it wanted to speak, but couldn't. Its memories tangled, broken, or perhaps lost entirely. Orlina, sensing its hesitation, whispered softly, "It's okay. We'll take it slowly, one memory at a time." A soft shimmer rose from the lake's surface, forming into a vision. The water glowed with a soft, golden hue, and a memory flickered into existence. The star dancing among other stars, spinning and leaping through the dark velvet of night. Each movement was a note in a silent symphony, light and joyous. Orlina reached out, brushing her fingers against the vision, as if she could catch it. "Do you remember this?" she asked gently. The star glowed faintly in response, a quivering point of light, and for a moment, Orlina thought she saw a smile in its flicker. Encouraged, she tried another. The lake swirled, sending ripples across its perfect surface, and soon another memory emerged, this one more intimate and tender. It was of a small, lonely star nestled in a dark corner of the night sky, trembling as it watched other stars shine boldly. It was afraid, uncertain, yet yearning to join the dance. The star's light wavered, faint, almost like a sigh. Orlina's hand hovered over the vision, wishing she could reach into it and hold it close. "You were always brave, even when you didn't know it," she murmured. Even then, the lake seemed to hum softly in agreement, and more memories began to surface. A flicker of laughter among constellations, a flash of courage when the star had risked its light to chase a shadow, a tiny tear shed in the stillness of a forgotten night. Each image reflected the star's essence, yet none were complete. Shadows lingered at the edges, doubts and fears creeping like fog over the water's surface. Orlina leaned closer, her reflection merging with the stars in the lake. "We have to face them too," she said softly. "The fears, the darkness. Otherwise, the memories will stay hidden." A sudden shiver ran across the lake. Dark shapes swirled beneath the silver surface, whispering accusations in voices only Orlina could feel. "You'll never remember. You'll never be whole. You belong only to the shadows." The star trembled violently, its light flickering weakly. Orlina's heart clenched at the sight, but she did not falter. She reached for the star, her hand steady and warm. "No," she said firmly, "you are more than these doubts. Look at all the light you have been, all the courage you've shown. We will remember together." The words seemed to resonate with the lake itself. The shadows recoiled, hissing into the depths, as if burned by Orlina's determination. And slowly, ever so slowly, the memories began to stabilize. First came the warmth of Joytha's star, soaring with a comet, spinning in arcs of silver and gold. Then the glimmer of hope, the star catching another falling star, sharing its light so neither was lost. And finally, the courage, the small light standing alone against a vast darkness, refusing to extinguish. Each memory strengthened the star, stitching together fragments of forgotten identity into a cohesive whole. Orlina watched in awe as the lake mirrored not just the star's history, but its essence. She could see the bravery it had not yet recognized in itself, the quiet kindness it had bestowed upon others, and the resilience that had carried it through silent nights. Tears welled in her eyes, not of sorrow, but of deep reverence. "You are so much more than you know," she whispered, "and I will help you remember every part." The star pulsed, brighter now, quivering with the energy of recollection. It hovered closer to Orlina, brushing her shoulder like a soft breeze of light. And then, as if guided by an unseen hand, the lake revealed the final memory, the memory that had been hidden behind fear. A single moment of pure light when the star had shone fully unafraid, illuminating not only the sky, but the hearts of those who looked upon it. It was a memory of triumph and love, of connection and belonging. Orlina gasped, overwhelmed by the radiance. "This is who you are," she said. "Not just pieces, the whole of you." The star flared brightly, nearly blinding in its intensity, and Orlina instinctively shielded her eyes. When the glow subsided, the star hovered before her, steady and serene, its light warm and unwavering, no longer flickering, no longer trembling. It had remembered itself. The lake's surface had returned to its calm, reflective state, mirroring only the moon and Orlina's smiling face. Orlina knelt beside it, her hand brushing against its radiance. "You've remembered," she said softly, a smile spreading across her face. "You've remembered who you are." The star glimmered in affirmation, and in that silent moment, Orlina felt a deep connection to something beyond the forest, beyond the night, beyond the lake itself. It was as though the mirror lake had not only revealed the star's identity, but had whispered a truth to her as well, that courage, light, and memory are never truly lost, only waiting to be rediscovered. They sat by the lake for a long while, letting the silence and the soft glow envelop them. The forest seemed to breathe around them, leaves rustling like a gentle applause. Every shadow, every flicker of doubt had been confronted. Orlina traced the star's outline in the air, feeling the warmth of its presence against her fingers. "You're whole now," she murmured, "and you never have to be afraid again." The star pulsed softly in response, as if acknowledging her words, and for the first time since Orlina had found it, its light shone with quiet confidence. Memories of past adventures and fleeting joys mingled with visions of the future, the promise of more journeys, more discoveries, more moments to be shared. The lake, ever calm, reflected this new truth, a mirror not only of memory but of hope itself. Finally, as the night deepened, Orlina rose and looked once more at the serene surface of the lake. She felt a profound sense of completion, yet also a gentle sadness. This magical place, with its whispers of memory and light, was a haven, but she knew their journey could not end here. The star, now steady and radiant, hovered beside her, a silent companion ready to face whatever lay ahead. "Come on," Orlina said, her voice tender yet resolute. "There's more for us to discover, more light to remember, more skies to dance across." The star pulsed eagerly, as though it understood perfectly, and together they turned from the mirror lake. The mist curled around them once more, carrying whispers of remembered laughter, of courage reclaimed, of light rediscovered as they walked back into the embrace of the forest. The lake behind them shimmered faintly, a promise lingering on its mirrored surface. Somewhere deep within its still waters, a part of the star's essence remained, a guardian of memory and a witness to the journey they had shared. And Orlina knew that no matter where their path led next, the mirror lake had given them a gift beyond measure, reflection of the heart that could never be forgotten. The night of names. The hill rose before Orlina like a gentle giant, draped in silvery grass that swayed beneath the whisper of the wind. Above it, the night sky stretched endlessly, a deep velvet sprinkled with the quiet fires of countless stars. The forest behind her had fallen into a hush, leaving only the soft echo of her footsteps as she climbed toward the hidden observatory she had glimpsed from afar. Its structure was old, weathered by wind and rain, yet somehow alive, as though it had grown from the hill itself. Moss curled around the stone edges, and the windows glimmered faintly with the reflection of the moon. The little star hovered at her shoulder, its light steady now, but carrying a soft hum of anticipation. Like a child on the verge of discovery, Orlina felt a flutter of excitement in her chest. She had always been drawn to names, the names of birds, the trees, even the forgotten paths of the forest. Names, she believed, held the essence of things. To know a name was to touch the truth of what it belonged to, and tonight she would help her small companion uncover its own. The observatory's door opened with a quiet groan, revealing a circular room filled with shelves of celestial instruments and dust-flecked charts of constellations. Moonlight spilled through a large, domed window, illuminating a small table at the center where a single book lay waiting. Its cover shimmered as if woven from starlight itself, delicate threads of silver curling across the surface in intricate patterns. Orlina's fingers trembled as she reached for it. The moment she touched the book, the air shifted, vibrating with soft whispers. They were like the sigh of distant wind, the echo of ancient voices, faint yet persistent. The star pulsed beside her, drawn to the glow that seemed to emanate from the pages. Orlina opened the book, and the first thing she noticed was that the ink was not black, but a pale, glimmering silver, dancing faintly as if alive. The words did not form sentences in the way she knew them. They were constellations themselves, clusters of stars mapped into patterns that whispered in the quietest tones. Orlina settled beside the star, cradling it gently in her palms. The little light shivered at her touch, as if aware that tonight something profound was about to happen. "Listen closely," she whispered, her voice barely above the hush of the observatory. "We will find your name together." She began to sing softly, a melody that drifted like smoke across the room. It was not a song she had learned from anyone. It seemed to come from the quietest corners of her heart. Each note carried warmth and patience, and the star responded immediately, glowing brighter, flickering in time with the rhythm of her voice. As she sang, the air thickened with murmurs. Soft, ethereal names began to swirl around them, whispered on a wind that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Names of stars, long known and long forgotten. Names that shimmered with laughter, sorrow, courage, and hope. Orlina's eyes widened as she heard them, some high and delicate like silver bells, others deep and resonant like the hum of the earth itself. Each name brushed against the little star, and with each touch it shone a little brighter, as though recognizing kinship and familiarity in these ancient syllables. She paused, letting the song linger in the air, and watched as the star's light wavered, soft and uncertain. There was a hesitation, a delicate shyness, and Orlina whispered, "It's all right." You don't have to remember everything at once. Just listen, breathe, let it come to you. The star pulsed gently, the edges of its glow trembling like morning mist. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the murmured names began to settle around it, like a constellation forming in a darkened sky. Orlina watched in awe as threads of silver light began to extend from the star, weaving themselves into delicate patterns that danced and shimmered with every flicker of its glow. Some names were familiar to her, others strange and wondrous, carrying sounds she had never spoken aloud. They moved in rhythm with the star's pulsing light, brushing against it like gentle tides. And then, amid the silvered voices, a soft murmur arose, faint yet insistent. It was different from the others, warmer, tender, full of quiet recognition. Orlina's breath caught in her throat. The star quivered, its glow rising and falling, and the murmur grew stronger, vibrating in the very air around them. Orlina felt it in her chest, a resonance that made her heartbeat quicken. The little star's radiance expanded, spilling over her hands and lighting the observatory in a gentle silver wash. The names of other stars circled it like ribbons, singing their quiet songs of remembrance, until the murmuring coalesced into a single, radiant syllable, a sound that felt older than time itself, yet familiar in a way that made the heart ache. Orlina leaned closer, tears shining in her eyes, and whispered, "That's it, you're remembering." The star's light surged in response, bursting outward in silver sparks that danced across the room. It hovered, trembling with brilliance, and then a clear, single word rang through the observatory, echoing softly as if the walls themselves had learned to speak it. The name unfolded like a sunrise, luminous, certain, and true. It was a name that had always existed, waiting patiently for recognition, waiting for Orlina's gentle guidance to unlock it from the quiet of forgotten memory. The air around them shimmered with silver light, and Orlina felt a wave of emotion wash over her relief, joy, awe, and love, all mingling into one. The star pulsed steadily now, each beat resonating with its reclaimed identity, shining with a confidence it had never known before. It hovered in front of her, a perfect sphere of light, warm and steady. Orlina whispered the name aloud herself, letting it roll off her tongue like the softest wind. The star quivered, as if tasting its own name for the first time, and then it shone even brighter, casting a gentle glow that filled every corner of the observatory. She laughed softly, a sound full of wonder and happiness. "It's yours," she said, voice breaking slightly. "You finally know yourself." The observatory seemed to respond. Moonlight glinted off the instruments, reflecting in patterns that mirrored the star's newfound radiance. Shadows fled into corners, and even the faintest dust motes sparkled as if celebrating the revelation. The air was alive with a gentle energy, a feeling that something old and vital had been restored. Orlina continued to sing softly, allowing the melody to carry the name of the star across the observatory, across the hill, and into the sky. The little light swirled around her, pulsing shimmering in rhythm, leaving trails of silver in the air, like whispered echoes of long-forgotten constellations. It was as if the entire night had paused to witness this moment, the stars themselves leaning closer in gentle applause. Hours passed, perhaps minutes. Time had no bearing here. Orlina felt a profound stillness settle around them, a serene understanding that some truths are so delicate they must be revealed slowly, gently, and with care. The star rested lightly in her hands, now steady, radiant, and fully itself. Its name was known, its memories restored, and a deep bond had formed between them, one of trust, patience, and quiet courage. Finally, as the first hints of dawn began to brush the horizon with pale light, "We've found you," she said softly, smiling through her tears. "We've found your name, your light, your place in the world." The star pulsed once, a bright, warm heartbeat, as if acknowledging her words. Then, as the observatory filled with the soft pink of morning, it lifted gently into the sky, circling above Orlina, leaving behind a trail of silver sparks that lingered like whispered promise. Sorla watched it go, her heart full, and felt a quiet satisfaction settle in her chest. She knew that the star's journey was not over. There were more skies to explore, more constellations to meet, and more light to share. But tonight, she had helped it remember itself. And in doing so, she had touched something eternal, the delicate, unbroken thread of identity, the magic that exists in names, and the enduring power of gentle guidance. Turning back toward the hill's winding path, Orlina allowed herself one last glance at the observatory, bathed now in dawn's first light. The book of starlight lay closed on the table, its silver threads pulsing faintly in quiet rest. She smiled softly, whispering a promise she hoped the night sky would carry. "Thank you for letting me help." And in that quiet moment, as the world awoke around her, she understood something profound. Every star, every memory, every name waits not in vain. Some wait for courage, some for recognition, and some, like the star she had found, wait for a gentle heart to call them home. Return to the sky. The hilltop was quiet, bathed in the soft glow of twilight. Orlina stood at the edge, her hair brushing gently against her cheeks in the evening breeze. Around her, the grass shimmered like silver threads woven by moonlight, and the sky stretched overhead in a deep, endless tapestry of indigo. Somewhere high above, stars began to emerge, twinkling one by one, each carrying its own quiet story. And amidst them, the little star, radiant and whole, hovered gently, pulsing softly with the glow of memories remembered and a name finally reclaimed. Orlina stepped closer, her hands brushing against the warm evening air, as though it could cradle her joy. The star twirled slowly before her, leaving trails of faint silver light that lingered like whispers of promises. "You're beautiful," she said softly, her voice almost drowned by the gentle rustle of the wind. "But you've always been. I just helped you remember." The star pulsed brighter, almost as if it were laughing, a soft, tinkling radiance that spoke without words. Orlina's heart swelled with a mixture of wonder and melancholy. She had grown so accustomed to the little companion hovering at her side, sharing in her curiosity, her quiet moments, her soft songs. And now, as radiant and complete as it was ready to return to its place in the sky, the home it had always belonged to, yet could not fully inhabit until it remembered its name. Orlina knelt, letting the star float closer. Its light warmed her hands, bathing her fingers in silver radiance. She could feel its gratitude, a gentle heartbeat of emotion that needed no words. "I'll never forget you," she whispered, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. "I'll watch you shine every night, and I'll remember how you trusted me to help you find yourself." The star hovered silently for a moment. Then a trail of sparkling light stretched behind it, forming a delicate arc that rose toward the heavens. It twirled in place, leaving streaks of silver like ribbons in the air, a luminous farewell that made Orlina's eyes glisten with tears. The wind carried soft whispers, tiny fragments of the songs she had sung, weaving them around the hilltop as if the world itself wanted to honor this moment of partying. Orlina rose to her feet, her gaze following the star as it climbed slowly toward the sky. The trails of light sparkled against the deepening blue of twilight, mingling with the first brave stars of evening. Each ribbon of radiance seemed to hum with promise, a quiet vow that although the star would leave her hands, it would never truly leave her heart. She reached up instinctively, as though she could touch the shimmering arc, and a warmth spread through her chest. "Goodbye, my little friend," she murmured, voice trembling with a bittersweet mixture of joy and longing. "Go home, shine brightly, and know that you are loved." The star paused for a brief moment in midair, hovering directly above her, its light enveloping her in a gentle glow. It pulsed softly, a heartbeat in the night, a silent thank you that spoke volumes. Then, as if taking a deep breath, it surged upward, faster this time, racing toward the canopy of stars above. Its trail expanded, a stream of silver that arched gracefully into the sky, mingling with constellations that blinked in welcome. Orlina watched until the star reached the zenith, joining its companions among the cosmos. It shimmered brilliantly, steady and confident, no longer flickering or hesitant. She smiled, letting tears spill freely, her heart full of awe. The star had returned to its place, but it had left something more behind, a memory, a promise, and a quiet magic that would forever remain with her for a long time. She stood in silence, feeling the gentle pulse of the night around her. Crickets sang softly in the grass, and a distant owl called once, as though marking the passage of this sacred moment. She thought of all the times she had helped the little star remember its light, the flickering dances of joy over the mirror lake, the whispers of names in the hidden observatory, the soft songs that had coaxed it to trust again. Each memory lingered like starlight itself, woven into her being, leaving her both joyous and wistful. Slowly, Orlina began her descent down the hill, the trails of silver still faintly glowing in the air behind her, a delicate reminder that the star's journey continued in the heavens. Each step she took was accompanied by a quiet reverence, the kind that comes from witnessing something extraordinary, from helping a being find its true self. The wind brushed around her shoulders, carrying faint echoes of the star's song, and she hummed along softly, a gentle melody to accompany the fading glow. By the time she reached the forest edge, night had fully settled. The trees loomed quietly, their leaves whispering secrets in the gentle breeze. Orlina paused, glancing upward. Among the countless pinpricks of light, she could see the star, now steady and serene, its radiance mingling with others in patterns that shifted slowly, like constellations breathing. A soft smile curved her lips. "You're shining," she whispered, almost as if she could speak across the distance between earth and sky. "I'll always see you." Her path home was lit by moonlight, pale and gentle, as if the night itself wished to guide her. Each familiar tree and stone seemed to glow faintly, reflecting the quiet magic she had shared with the little star. The journey had changed her. She carried a new sense of wonder, a delicate knowledge that even the smallest acts of patience and care could illuminate the darkest corners of the heart. As she approached her own home, nestled at the edge of the village, she noticed how ordinary the night seemed in comparison to the radiance of the hilltop, yet no less beautiful. The little candles in her windows flickered softly, and the scent of lavender and wood smoke drifted in the cool night air. She paused at the threshold, taking a deep breath, letting the warmth of the familiar mingle with the memory of the extraordinary. Orlina stepped inside quietly, closing the door behind her. She carried no physical proof of the night's events, no book, no glowing trails, but the memory of the star, its regained brilliance, and the sense of connection lingered, alive and vibrant. She placed a hand over her heart and smiled softly. Even though the star had returned to the sky, its presence was woven into her very being. She would carry it always, and each night, when she looked upward, she would see it shining among the stars, steady and unafraid, a reminder of the journey they had shared. For a long while, Orlina sat by her window, gazing at the night sky. She traced the familiar patterns of the constellations, noting how the little star now fit perfectly among them. No longer alone, no longer unsure, it glimmered faintly, a pulse of silver amid the tapestry of distant fires. And she whispered to it softly, "Thank you for letting me help you. Shine, little one. Shine always." The wind outside carried the gentle rustle of leaves and the quiet hum of nocturnal life. Somewhere far above, the star moved gracefully, its light reflecting across the clouds and touching the edges of the sleeping world. And Orlina felt an unspoken bond, a delicate thread of connection that could span distance, time, and the vastness of the night. As she finally rested, her eyelids heavy with wonder and peace, Orlina knew that the little star had given her something equally profound, the understanding that light, once rediscovered, could never be lost. It was a reminder that patience, gentle guidance, and belief could awaken brilliance even where shadows had lingered. And as she drifted into sleep, she imagined the star dancing quietly in the heavens, its silver trails glimmering faintly against the dark canvas, a promise of hope, courage, and friendship carried across the night sky. When morning came, it found Orlina still dreaming of silver ribbons and gentle light. But even waking, she felt a quiet joy. She would go about her days, carrying the memory of the star, the echoes of its name, the knowledge that she had helped it return to itself. And when night fell again, she would look up, smiling softly, knowing that somewhere her little friend glimmered steadily among countless others, a shining promise in the vast expanse above. And though their paths had diverged, one returning to the cosmos, the other remaining upon the earth, the bond between them was unbroken. It was a bond of light, of trust, of names remembered, and of hearts touched. Every star in the sky seemed a little brighter, as if acknowledging that some magic, once awakened, could ripple infinitely outward, touching worlds unseen, hearts unimagined, and dreams yet to be dreamed. Orlina closed her eyes, finally, a smile lingering on her lips. The night was silent now, full of quiet brilliance. The little star had returned to its home, and she, too, had returned from a journey that had revealed the profound power of remembrance, of gentle guidance, and of light restored. In her heart, she carried the memory of that ascent, the silver trails, the whispered name, and the quiet knowledge that some connections are eternal, shining steadily across the sky and within the soul, never fading, never forgotten. And so, with the story drifting to its quiet close, you can let the images fade gently into your dreams. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. If you'd like more calming journeys like this, remember to follow Whispers of the Night. Until we meet again, may your rest be deep and your dreams be peaceful.